Hey y'all. Hey, I don't know why I was have to announce that I'm doing a different type of video other than show reviews, but this one is a little bit different. Um I like to watch TV. Let's just start by saying that. I watch TV. I watch a lot of movies. Specifically docuseries, like non-fictional type shows. So I was gonna review Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, but I feel like it's too late. It's been done, so I'm not gonna do it. But what I am doing in this video, I'm doing One Night in Miami, and that is Regina King's readaptation of One Night in Miami, where four legends got together and chit chatted basically. So but what I'm going to do is a little bit different. I've tried not to, I've done a pretty good job at avoiding everybody else's video on YouTube about this movie until I was able to collect my notes and get myself together, because I really wanted to talk about this. There are a lot of people in this lineup, not really the cast, but the real people that I enjoy. Also wore my Black Wall Street t-shirt, just because I'm feeling real black today. I mean, I'm black every day, hence the name Melanin 365. However, this one's going to be a little bit long, because what I'm going to do is, for me, there wasn't a whole lot of meat as it relates to the movie. So I've given like some, kind of like a 4-page paper type synopsis on, okay, where were they at in life, issues that they had run into, kind of shifts that took place in their life after the meeting, and then some just gee whiz information that I found out about the four gentlemen in my independent research. So let me just jump right into it, because this video is going to be long enough. So it's going to be a review of One Night in Miami slash a little bit of historical context as it relates to each one of their lives. Hopefully, I mean, I ain't even going to tell you it ain't going to be long, because it is. So let me just get my wine in, because I'm going to be spitting, okay? Not literally spitting, but like talking, getting a lot of words. All right, so when I'm in Miami. So let me just start with my disclaimer. Not everything in this video has been verified as 100% fact. They're just my thoughts and opinions based on my independent research. I said, oh my God. Also, it's a combination of a review of the movie combined with the events that were happening before, during, and after, in order to get a bit of a better picture of who these people were, and not just paint them as, mavericks or heroes, because they were still people. Because I like a lot of these movies, but sometimes they kind of paint people as villains or martyrs, especially when it comes to my people. It's more of the villainy that I see. So I want to provide a little bit of realism, as far as, they were real people with real issues. They weren't just martyrs. They weren't people that just sacrificed for a cause. They weren't just athletes. They weren't just singers. They were people. So that's what I'm gonna do. All right, so quick little synopsis. It's Regina King's, we all know Regina King. If you don't know her, Google her. It's her directorial debut, based on the stage play by Kemp Powers. Now, I will preface that by saying I have no idea who he is, and I do not have any experience with his work, but I will go back and look after this. But Kemp Powers, who also worked on, just did a little bit of research on him. He also worked on Soul, which is the movie that came out on Netflix. I'm not sure the platform, but the movie Soul that came out with the cartoon about the jazz singer. That one, I watched that. That was a really good movie. And Star Trek Discovery. That's what Google said. So he worked on those bodies of work, if you're interested. All right, moving right along. So the characters. I'm going to give you the character names. Again, I am not familiar with any of them other than Aldis Hodge. Hey, Aldis. I'm not familiar with any of them other than Aldis Hodge. So I'm just going to give you the individual person who they played, but I'm going to be referring to them as who they played in the movie. Got it? Good. All right. So we have Kingsley Ben-Adir, Adir. He played Malcolm X. Don't think he was a strong Malcolm X. That's just my opinion. Okay. Boom. We have Eli Goree. He played Muhammad Ali. We have Aldis Hodge. He played Jim Brown. And we had Leslie Odom Jr., which played Sam Cooke. Just a little bit about the casting. Muhammad Ali, stellar. Kingsley, he was giving me very much Barack Obama on the campaign trail. It was giving very politics. It wasn't giving me like resist by any means. They shoot you, shoot them back. He wasn't giving me Malcolm X tease like that. But it was also during a point where the whole gist of the conversation was Malcolm wanted to get his brethren together to talk about their platforms and how to better use them. So he wasn't being very militant until it was coming from Sam Cooke. But again, let's bring it back. So again, I'm gonna be okay. Go back. So Aldous Hodge, he was Jim Brown. I am not super familiar with Jim Brown in the athletic realm. I only know him from movies. So based on my experience, I'm used to him being a heavier stocked man, of which Aldous is not. So I can live with it. I can live with it. Leslie Odom, good job. We know that Sam Cooke was a little bit on the fair skin side. He wasn't Malcolm X fair skin, but it was a good casting. He did a very good job. That's what I'll say. So in the review, I'm going to be calling them their character names. All right. So let's just set the stage a little bit, just a little bit. So it is a fictional account. None of this can be confirmed because Malcolm X is deceased. So is Muhammad Ali. So is Sam Cooke. The only person that is still allowed to accurately account the details of the night is Jim Brown. Now, I am not sure if Regina King or anyone in her team reached out to Jim Brown in order to get his insight, but I would hope so. I would not want to write a story about a living legend and not consult them. However, salt and pepper, do better. All right, again, I'm a chill. All right, so it was a fictional account of one night in Miami where Malcolm X, Cassius Clay, who later becomes Muhammad Ali after this night in Miami. He was Cassius Clay at the time of this meeting. He's going to be Muhammad Ali in my accounts. Sam Cooke and Jim Brown met up to attend a party that Malcolm X was throwing. But the party was actually Malcolm's plan to encourage his counterparts to make better use of their platforms as it relates to the Black struggle, the Black movement. He felt like they needed to do a little bit better in that aspect. I don't know who made him the governor of that meeting, but that's what he wanted to do. All right, so this was, in the midst of the civil rights movement of the 1960s, so it was an apt meeting that, people were having during these times. All right, so it is February of 1964, and Cassius Clay has not legally changed his name. Well, hasn't changed his name to Muhammad Ali, as I have said. And on the night of said meeting, he won the World Heavyweight Championship against Sonny Liston. So hopefully I got the name of the title right, because I don't know anything about that either. But let's just say, he won the championship at the age of 25, which is definitely an accomplishment within itself. All right. I just wanted to put a little side note in there, because there was no way in hell that I would be having a come to Jesus meeting during the night of the world celebrating me as a world title holder. I don't know why I felt the need to say that, but that wouldn't have been at the top of my list of things to do. Once I had realized that we weren't going to be having a meeting, then I was going to have to go ahead and go. Yeah. So, so basically it's talking about all of them basically having a conversation. Now, the movie is, I think, closer to 2 hours long, maybe an hour and some change, and it is just dialogues between each dynamics. You may have one or two people go off and have their own conversation. Sam and Malcolm, they get into it because they're two, strong-headed individuals. So it's basically just a compilation of one night's conversation, which we assume to be historical because all of their lives pivoted at the end after this conversation. So let's just go into the background issues that I want to give you guys. Prior to this meeting at the Hampton House Hotel, each man had their own set of issues. So we're just going to get into a little bit of their issues and their background just so we can better understand, like, the state of mind that they were in before they got to the meeting. Is that okay? It don't matter if it's not, Let's just get into them. All right, so Muhammad Ali. Prior to him getting there, he had been in talks and been mentored and friends with Malcolm X, and he had plans to announce his conversion to the Nation of Islam. Fun fact, the man that taught him to box way earlier on in life was also a member of the Nation. So in my opinion, I guess that would have been his first introduction, to the Nation, but Just found it interesting to mention. All right, so Sam Cooke. Sam Cooke, prior to showing up that night in Miami, he had suffered a very embarrassing performance for an all-white crowd at the Copacabana. And at this point, he was on a mission to go back and win those people over, which lends itself to Malcolm's big issue with Sam. Instead of using his platform to speak out against, the civil unrest and things that were happening against black people, he was more interested in appeasing his all-white counterparts in order to be accepted. All right, so Jim Brown had, gone off and been very successful in football, very well in football. I'm not even going to start naming titles or positions and things of the sort because that's not my ministry. Okay? All right. So he had returned to his hometown. I forgot where. Georgia? I think it's Georgia. Don't quote me. But he returned to his hometown to Georgia, maybe to visit or whatever, and he met up with an old friend who happens to be a white guy. And the guy gave him such admiration and praise and all of this good stuff. But the problem with that was he was quickly reminded that he was still black. No matter what he had accomplished, he, set titles. He was record breaking in football. And he was still reminded that he was still nothing more than an N-word after this meeting with the friend. So he goes to this old white man's house, and the man gives him praise and admiration. You're wonderful. You're great. Best football player I know. Da 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 da. Right? And then his daughter comes out. They've been sitting out there chopping it up for a while. His daughter comes out and tells him, "Hey, Dad, we still need your help moving some item in the house. Let's just say a couch. I don't remember." And Jim, I'm assuming having had known this man for most of his life, it's like, y'all need help moving the couch. I'll help you. Simple gesture, simple offer. Well, they have been sitting outside on the porch this whole time, just chatting it up. And the man goes to tell him, "No, you're going in with your dad. It's okay." And you basically, you know better than that. We don't allow N-words in the house. Now, going to the actual, that's what happened in the movie. In the actual account, the man never said it, but it was his implication. Like, it was implied after Jim offered to help him. He was like, "No, we won't get down with y'all being in the house like that. But it's nice to know you. Good job. Great. Go forth. Go make us some more money," basically. So yeah. Side note, a little Jewish information on Jim Brown, because I had to look him up because I wasn't that very familiar. Jim Brown was not only exceptional in football. Jim Brown was exceptional in basically all sports that he touched. To include lacrosse, track, basketball, and baseball. So he was just bound to be a professional force to be reckoned with, which lends itself to still, make people question, like, okay, why would you leave football at the height of your career? But that's their man's decision, child. That's what he wanted to do. All right, so Malcolm X. Malcolm, prior to this meeting, he had made plans to leave the Nation of Islam, of which he had not shared with Muhammad Ali until this night at the meetup. And he was also realizing, he was being followed more and more. And he was being followed. And we also know that a member of his security detail was a confidential informant. So that didn't make it no better. He was also, conflicted about that as well, because he wanted to leave and start his own party. All right. Just a little bit of Malcolm X history. This is just, again, G-Wiz information that I already knew. But he used to be a petty thief named Detroit Red, who learned about the Nation of Islam during his time in jail, because he went to jail for putting his hand on people's shit all the time. He went to jail for stealing, and that is where he learned about the Nation of Islam while he was in jail. But he also used to hang out with a guy named Chicago Red. Well, Chicago Red later goes on to become Red Fox. So Malcolm X and Red Fox were really good friends a very, very long time ago. I always think that's just so interesting, because they don't even seem similar, like in nature and countenance. Like, I don't even know how they would have ran into each other, but they were really good friends. In case anybody cares. All right, so now all of these gentlemen are at a crossroad at this particular point of the movie, as we discussed earlier. Moving right along. So Malcolm X is wanting to leave the Nation of of Islam and start his own group. That's his crossroad. Muhammad Ali wants to announce his conversion to the next nation of Islam. That is his crossroad because he's 25 years old. He's a world champion. There's a lot of things you have to give up in order to be a part of the nation. So it is a major feat. It is a major thing to do at this particular point in his life. Sam Cooke, whether or not he needed to figure out whether or not he wanted to continue trying to appease his all-white crowds in order for him to feel accepted, even though they continued to reject him. And then Jim Brown, he needed to decide whether he wanted to retire from football at the height of his career and pursue acting. All right, so essentially Malcolm X had went ahead and tricked them into the hotel in order to disguise. In order to discuss their individual accomplishments and to see how they could better leverage that for the good of their people. Which ain't a bad conversation to have. But it definitely goes left when him and Sam just get into a pissing match throughout the whole daggone movie. Alright, so let's just get into the tensions and the conflicts that arose throughout the movie. Yeah. Also, I forgot to mention that Malcolm X has also been documenting his life story up until this point because he has an uneasy feeling that he's not going to be around much longer, which later proves to be true. A year some change after said meeting when he is assassinated. So he was correct in that assumption. All right, so Malcolm and Sam Cooke, they spend the bulk of the movie arguing because Malcolm thinks that Sam is pandering to white folks instead of his own people. Your people gave you a platform and you spending all your time over here trying to get these white people to like you. Basically is the whole gist of the argument. So during this whole process, Sam is saying, I'm also in the process of creating my own record label and owning my own masters, which is monumental in this time frame because that is unheard of. Even now, a lot of black artists do not own their masters. So, that was definitely a feat for Sam to be trying to do. And so John Dolphins was one of Sam Cooke's friends early on in life and mentors. So John, I don't know a lot about John, but I know he was basically the person that put Sam up on how behind the scenes work in the music. Basically tell him, you need to own your masters. You need to create your own thing. You need to, get accountants, like helping him to avoid a lot of the pitfalls that a lot of black artists fall into and continue to fall into. So he took that information and he ran with it. And I lost my train of thought. Yeah, so Sam took this knowledge and he basically created an empire for himself by way of performing for white folks. Let's just not forget that. Yes, he made a whole lot of money. He owned his masters. He had the best of everything. He was a big spender. He was all of these things, but it was by way of entertaining white people. But Sam's rebuttals to Malcolm is that his entrepreneurship himself, like his entrepreneurship and what he has amassed thus far should be motivation enough for black people. That should be inspiration enough for the community. That's all I can really do is be successful and let them see that I am successful, and maybe that'll do. But Sam did go on, I don't know if it was before or after the meet, he did go on to create his own record label and he hired black artists. So he did in his own way help his community. So I don't know how mad you can be about that. All right, so Sam also wanted Malcolm to know, like, okay, protest music is cool and all, but it ain't selling. I got bills and it ain't making me no money. Malcolm says, yeah, cool, you got a point, but let me confront you with something. Okay, Bob Dylan has a song called Blowing in the Wind, which I am to presume because I've never heard anything about it. I never heard the song ever. I didn't go bother to listen to it either. And this song is, from what I understand, painting a picture of the woes of black people. I think I've heard the song. Maybe I should have listened to it. I didn't. And so Malcolm tells me, how does a white guy from Minnesota who has no insight, who has no direct correlation to the black plight, how can he commercialize that and make money off of it? But you either can't or won't. That was basically Malcolm's whole argument.